technical questions and helping each other out. So don't go away. I'll be back shortly. Might start a little earlier so nobody will leave. This is KT4AS. This is KT4AS. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the West Central Florida Section TechNet, which is now on the air. My name is Paul. I'll be net control for this evening's net. My contact information is posted on QRZ.com. When you go to my webpage, by the way, you can see a picture of the only U.S. president who got to be 100 years old, Jimmy Carter. I spent some time with him in 1989 when he was a younger man, so you might want to go check my QRZ page out. Again, the call is Kilo Tango 4 Alpha Sierra. Before we start the net, are there any stations with emergency or priority traffic? One more call for emergency or priority traffic. Nothing heard. Reminding you that this net meets every Thursday around 9 o'clock local time after the Eagle Net. It's open to everybody with a licensed ham ticket. This net is for the exchange of ideas and technical assistance in all areas of amateur radio. And as an added plus, when I do the net, I give you some technical trivia questions, which are always a lot of fun. So stand by for those. This net is operated on the NI4CE repeater system. Information about this is available at NI4CE.org. Repeaters in the system require 100 hertz tone for access. Always, as you know, a short transmit delay, so when the various repeaters link up, you'll be connected with everybody. So please key your mic, wait about a half second, and then begin speaking. So let's start with section officials. Any Arrl section officials, please call now. Net control. Net control, please check in November 4, Romeo Tango Delta N4, TD Russ in Lincoln, Polk County, and I have no traffic. Good evening. November 4, Radio Tango Delta. What's the name again, please? The name is Russ, Romeo Uniform Sierra Sierra. Okay, Russ, and any more section officials, call now. One more time for section officials, call now. Okay, let's move along to tech specialists, which we always need for the tech net. If you're a tech specialist, please call now. Net control, Whiskey Zero, Mike Juliet Lima. Mike, tech specialist, Nokomis. Good evening, Paul. Hi, Mike, one of my fellow club members in CERC. W0MJL Tech Specialist. Any more TSs? Call now. Net control. Net control, please check in Kilo Oscar 4 India Hotel Papa KO4IHP. Tim North Central Sarasota Tech Specialist. Well, howdy, Tim. I recognize your voice on one letter. When you say K, I know it's you. Glad to have you here, Tim. Any more tech specialists, call now. More time for tech specialists. Well, at least we got 3, me and 2 others. Anyone else that's a tech specialist, please call now. Okay, nothing heard. Let's take general check-ins now. just take them from anywhere with any suffixes. Just call now if you want to be a part of the TechNet. Net control. Control, please check in Kilo Quebec 4, Lima Uniform Juliet. This is Scooter from Lake Alfred, and I do have a question for the net tonight. Okay, Scooter, why don't you go ahead and give me your question, and then people checking in will hear it ahead of time. Your question. There's a feature on most analog radios called the Compander. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. But it's a feature that allows a clear transmit and receive filter, if I understand it correctly. But the drawback on it is that both stations need to have it enabled for it to work. Otherwise, it can be detrimental. And I'm just curious. This is a very helpful, useful feature that we don't utilize, and I'm wondering why not. Okay, what's the name of it again? The Compander feature. I think most people are just ignoring it because they don't know what it is. But I went online and looked it up, and it sounds like a really useful feature. I went on a YouTube channel run by a fellow I respect, and he gave a pretty good explanation on it, and in the end he says, well, most of us don't use it, so it's not useful. And stretched his shoulders and recommended that we don't enable it. And my question is, here's technology that we're not taking advantage of, and I'm just wondering why not? I certainly understand. I have something like that on my Yaesu. It's called an APF, and that's an audio peak filter. And what that does is it trims your signal down to just a hair. So there could be a station coming through, let's say on CW, and you can barely hear them. When you tune them in with a hair tuning like that, they just boom right in at you. And the thing is, the other station doesn't need to have an APF on. It gives you an opportunity to hear better. Maybe some other people will have more information about that. Any more check-ins for the TechNet tonight, please call now. Control?
Net control. This is N0NL, November 0, November Lima. Jim, Paso 58. No questions tonight. Back to you, N0NL.
Well, thank you, Jim. It's good to hear your voice. And somebody else double with you. Come back again, please. Net control, please check in. KQ4HOE, Kilo, Quebec 4, Hotel Oscar Echo. Pat, near Lakewood Ranch, Madison County. On my Beifong HT tonight, and hopefully next week, Monday or Tuesday, my station will be up. My shack will be running. Getting pretty excited, and that's why I'm listening tonight. KQ4HOE, back to net. Well, hi, Pat. Yeah, it's always exciting when you got something new coming up in your shack. Thank you for joining us tonight. Maybe you can help with some answers to some of these questions. Any more check-ins, please call now. Net control. Net control, please check in Whiskey 4, Romeo, Victor, X-Ray, Bill and Bart 2. No questions tonight, just riding along and learning. Good evening, Paul. Awesome that as always. W4RVX back to net control. W4RVX, Bill, who just started with his new gig as Wednesday night net control. control, and he did a stellar job, which I knew he would. Any more check-ins, please call now.
Net control, please check in Kilo Echo 8 Bravo. Ron and Osprey, no questions or comments. Good evening, Paul, KE8B.
Hello there, Ron, KE8B. Ron is our Sunday night net controller. Any more stations that want to check in, please call now. Net control. So please check in. Kilo 1 India November Echo. Kilo 1 India November Echo. Austin, North Lakeland. No traffic. I'm learning. Welcome, Austin. Do you have any questions for us tonight? No questions. Just watching and monitoring. Thank you. Good evening. Good evening to you, Austin. Any more check-ins for the TechNet? Hey, Control. Control. Kilo Quebec 4, Romeo Quebec Oscar, Alex. Listening and learning. No questions. Well, hello, Alex. Great to have you here. Appreciate you checking in. Any more check-ins for the TechNet? Call now. Net control. Net control, this is Kilo Quebec 4, Victor Tango Lima. Just checking in and listening. Okay, your name, please? Sam in Lithia. Welcome, Sam. Thanks for tuning in and checking in. Any more check-ins for the TechNet? Call now. Net control. Here's Kilo 4 Golf Echo Oscar George, Port Charlotte. George, loud signal tonight. Thanks for checking in. Any more check-ins for the TechNet? Net control. Net control. Please check in Kilo X-Ray 4, Mike Delta Mike. Dave in Clearwater. I have no traffic tonight. 73s and back to net control. Howdy, Dave. KX4MDM. Thanks for joining us. Any more check-ins for the TechNet? Call now. One more time for check-ins to the TechNet. Come now, please. Okay, let's roll out some technical trivia questions. At one time, the SWLers, shortwave listeners, and also ham radio operators used Hamelin receivers. What country was Hamelin made? What country was it made in is what I'm trying to say. Do you know the answer? Just say contact and I will put you on the air. Yeah, go ahead. It's in Germany. That's what I always thought, but it's not correct. It's made somewhere else, which is surprising. My second guess is Switzerland. No, not correct. I thought I was. Yeah, I would have guessed those two too, but it's surprising where it was made. I'll leave it out there for grabs and see what happens. I have another trivia question to add into the mix. What was Marconi's political party? I'll give you a multiple choice. Was he a Republican, a Democrat, a fascist, or a libertarian? Anybody know? Just holler contact. Hey, take a guess. There's a four-part multiple choice answer. I'll say Democrat for the second question. Kilo Quebec 4, Romeo Quebec Oscar. He was not a Democrat, and you have the question?
USA Germany, so no.
Well, it surprised me too when I saw this on the QRZ quiz, which I look at every week. Not correct. You want to take a guess on Marconi's political party?
KQ4HOE. Marconi was a fascist.
You are exactly correct. And he was a big friend and supporter of Benito Mussolini, but we won't hold that against him. That was another time and another place. Very good. I'm impressed. All right, let's rule out another couple of questions here. We still have Marconi's, we got that one. Okay. Before the term SOS, what was used? What three letters were used for an emergency?
Contact.
Go ahead.
CQD.
Amen. Very good. I'm impressed. I didn't know that one. Let's do another one here. In the 1930s, a radio engineer developed the cubical quad antenna. Again, what country, like we were doing with Hamelin, what country was the cubical quad invented in?
Contact.
Ed?
Ecuador.
You are absolutely right. He was an engineer at radio station HCJB, a religious station, very powerful, in Quito, Ecuador, South America. Very good. Next question. A Soviet radar system caused a lot of QRM back in the day. Does anybody know what that was called? Go ahead.
Woodpecker.
That's right, the Russian woodpecker. Very good. I'm impressed tonight. The next question. Oh, before we get to the next question, let me call for any more check-ins. Any more check-ins for the TechNet? Call now.
Net Control. Net Control, please check in. Kilo Mike 4, Whiskey X-Ray X-Ray. Sanford, northeastern Sarasota County. Nothing for the net, Paul, but I'll be riding along. And by the way, Hammerlin was made in New York City.
Amen. That's surprising, isn't it? Were you surprised when you found out? Because it sounds like a German or a Swiss name.
No, because I used to have one. I knew where it came from.
I always wanted one, but I never could afford it back in those days. Some of them were really big radios.
Yeah, between those and Collins. I was trying to keep up with my neighbor back in those days, but he was way ahead of me because he was a doctor's son. He had more Collinses than you see stick at.
Oh, I always wanted Collins as well. And, boy, when you buy one of those today on the used market, it costs you more, even factor in today's money, than it did back when it was new.
I saw one for sale. I can't remember which model it was, but it was a receiver, and man, it was sky high, even used.
And that equipment was used in wartime as well, very popular in wartime. Thank you, Sanford.
Thanks, Paul. PM4WXX clear.
All righty, see how well you can do with some of these other questions. QST magazine, which I still get. I'm not sure if I want to pay extra for it when it's time to renew. Well, what year was QST magazine started in? You take a guess, and I'll tell you whether you're high or low. We'll play high-low trivia.
It was the 20s, maybe the 30s.
High. 20s is high. It was chartered only about 3 years after the Titanic went down. I'm going to try again. Okay, we'll leave it out there and see if anybody can guess it. Here's one that surprised me. I didn't know this until I read it on a trivia page. The world's first amateur radio society. Of course, most of us are members of the Arrl, but it wasn't the first. Which one was the first amateur society? Okay, we got a stumper there. I'll leave it up for grabs. Maybe somebody will look it up. Here's one that's probably is debatable. Who discovered that sound could be sent over the air? We're not talking about CW like Marconi, but the person who discovered that sound could be sent over the air. Anybody know that one? Contact. Ed?
Alexander Graham Bell.
Say again, please.
Alexander Graham Bell.
No, and there's some controversy over whether or not he actually invented the telephone or stole it from another guy, an Italian guy. They actually have a monument to him as the originator of the telephone someplace up in the Northeast. But no, it wasn't Bell. It was a very famous electronic scientist. So we'll... this one. For active electrodes is called what? Tube with 4 active electrodes.
Contact.
Go ahead, contact.
KM4WXX is pentoid, isn't it?
Did you say tetrode?
I said pentoid, but I think it is tetroid.
Yeah, that's it. And there's a transistor which mimics the tube tetrode. I'm not quite sure what it is, but hey, Sanford, I'm impressed tonight. Let's go to the next one. What does SSK, Frank Sierra Kilo, mean?
Frequency shift keying.
That is correct. I'm impressed with the knowledge out there today. And while we got a little break here in the trivia questions, let me say we'd like to take some more check-ins for the TechNet, particularly those who have technical questions. Maybe your radio ain't working right and you want some advice. Somebody else might have the same radio or something similar. Or, you know, you have an antenna question or whatever. Check in and say you got a question and we'll try to help. Not me necessarily. There are people on this net that have far more knowledge than I do. But if you have a question or you just want to check in and ride along, call now. Okay, nothing heard. What frequency range has a 9 hertz spacing in Europe and a 10 hertz spacing in the United States? That's an interesting one. Does anybody know? Control. Go ahead.
Whiskey 6, Bravo, Alpha, Alpha, and that would be medium wave or AM, depending on how you look at it.
That is directly correct. In fact, a lot of people who do medium wave DX have to remember that there's 9 hertz spacing in Europe and 10 hertz in the United States if you're doing it digitally. One time when I was working at a 50,000 watt radio station, a guy in Finland sent me a tape of my broadcast to Atlanta, Georgia. There are some real diehards that do AM medium wave DXing. I haven't done much of it. I've heard a lot of Caribbean stations on the AM broadcast band, and Cuba, of course, which booms in like a local station even in the daytime. But it's kind of an interesting hobby. Okay, let's try the next question. I'm going to give you 4 states, and tell me which one has the least population. Alaska, Montana, Wyoming, or Vermont? Which one has the smallest population?
Net control again.
Go ahead.
That would be Wyoming.
That is correct. I've always wondered, I've never met anybody from Wyoming, and I was always wondering whether or not it was a myth, if there was really a Wyoming, but I understand there is. All right, congratulations, very good. Next question. Hams helped communicate emergency information in a hurricane in 1969, and we got a taste of that here in Florida. What was that hurricane, 1969?
Camille. This is N0NL.
You got it, Jim. Camille. All right, the next question. When code was required for licenses, what were the speeds that were required? And God knows I had to do all of them and almost failed the last one. What code was required for the license categories back in the day?
Okay, the first one was novice, 5 words a minute. And then technician, 5 words a minute. General was 13, and extra was 20. I at one time had the 3rd class radio telegraph license at one time, N0NL.
Okay, I think you meant 5, 10, 13, and 20, right?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, the 20, I missed all of them except if I would have got one more wrong, I would have failed that test. But that was a tough one at that time. Now I can do 20 words a minute pretty good, but then I couldn't. I could barely do 13. And I think it's a wonderful thing that they got rid of the code, because we're having a hard enough time getting in new ham operators because of the computer age. And that code, a lot of people just never wanted it and didn't care about it, and a lot of people still don't care about it. It's amazing. In my club, there are a few people in there that know Morse code at all, and a lot of them are advanced in age like me. So anyway, the year of the first Earth, Moon, Earth QSO. I give you a multiple choice. 1955, 1971, 1960. Contact. Go right ahead. 1960. That is correct. Very good. Let's call for any more check-ins for the TechNet. Whether you have a question or you just want to join us and be ready for answering a trivia question, call now.
Whiskey 6, Bravo Alpha Alpha. This is Ben in Largo. I kind of jumped in the questions there. I don't remember if I gave you my call or not.
All right, I had at least a double there. It might have been a triple. Somebody come back to me, please. Q4, LUJ. Okay, you were already checked in. Do you have an answer to a previous question? And I'm not sure which answer you want. I cheated and looked it up on the internet. First, Amateur Radio Club. There is the FSARC. Started in Delaware in 1953. That's 1953. I have trouble pronouncing 50. Some people think I said 60. Anyhow, that was one answer. The other one was in 1908. Was established at the University of Columbia, and it started with it started out as a telegraph club.
don't know which which answer is correct.
Well, the question was the world's first amateur society. So we have to extend that. I'll tell you, it was not in the United States. The world's first amateur society was in another country.
And in England, Radio Society of Great Britain, RSTV, and 0NL.
All right, I had another double there. Jim, what was your comment?
I was saying England is RSGB, Radio Society of Great Britain.
No, but there was another one preceding that, which is shares the same language as England. We'll leave that one up for grabs. And did I have another check-in? If anybody wants to check in, please come now.
This is Whiskey 6 Bravo Alpha Alpha, Ben in Largo. When I jumped in for the questions, I didn't remember if I gave my call. Also, I had a comment on your medium wave conversation there.
Okay, let's see if I got you on the list. No, I don't. Whiskey 6.
Whiskey 6 Bravo Alpha Alpha, Ben, and I'm in Largo. And talking about the medium wave and DXing, yeah, there was actually a station where my sister lives in Wisconsin. They're only about 1,000 watts. However, they recently had it was the end of last year, beginning of this year, they actually had a QSL request made from them coming from the Arctic Circle, and they actually sent recordings where they got the station identification and stuff from the radio station, but all the way out in the Arctic Circle of things with 1,000 watts. It's just amazing how far medium wave really can go.
Yeah, especially at high latitudes like that. In fact, in Finland, which is very close to the Arctic Circle, they have these ham clubs where you can rent a place out in the ice cold, a cabin, and they have long antennas for medium wave, hundreds of feet long. And if you got the money and you can stand the cold, you can go up there and do all kinds of medium wave DXing. Up there at that part of the world, you're hearing DX night and day.
I would agree 100%. Yeah, it's kind of interesting of all the stations to grab, since there's so few of them east of the Mississippi that starts with a K for a call letter. That was one of the things that caught the guy's attention, because it was KFIZ was the call letters for the station. It's out of Fond du Lac, Wisconsin, and it kind of drew his attention more to send out for the QSL, and they gladly sent it back, and they were surprised because, just normal terms, their station maybe goes out 30 to 40 miles, so to hear something that far away, they were just blown away.
Oh, medium wave DX has always really interested me. When I was working at a 10,000 watt station, I got a QSL request from Hilo, Hawaii, and that's not as far as Finland, but it's a piece down the road.
Oh, I would agree 100%. And I heard a little bit at the very beginning of the net. I wasn't where I could grab a radio. You guys were talking about companders, and I've played with those a little bit over the years, and they have some pros and cons, but the biggest con that I have found, at least with my experience of them, is if you've got a weak signal, matter of fact, I used a compander because there was a system when I lived in California, the wind system, and their repeater could hear me, but I could barely hear them, and I used to participate in their Insomniac net that came up later at night, the question and answer net they had, and I had to use the compander to hear them and then turn it off to transmit. But it's good in those kind of situations, but the problem is, and I think the reason it's not adopted mainstream, is the stronger the signal gets, the worse the compander, depending on how it's designed, but a lot of them, the worse it makes the signal. So you end up, if you got a strong signal, the compander actually makes it harder to hear things.
Oh, that's interesting. I never heard of them. I do have an APF filter in my Yaesu DX3000, and I use it a lot. I mean to tell you, if you hear a weak CW signal coming in, maybe from Europe, and you can barely hear it, you turn that sucker on, and you can tune that signal. You can hair tune it to where you're right on that frequency, and it just pulls stuff out of the weeds. So, well, thank you for your help tonight with information. We always appreciate it. One more time, W6BAA, thank you, Ben. Let's one more time call for check-ins, particularly if you have a technical question. Please call now. Okay, nothing heard. Well, we got 17 check-ins. That's not too bad for this net. Next question. What layer of the ionosphere is known for short skip? If you know that, just holler net control or contact and I'll put you on. The layer of the ionosphere known for short skip. Of course, the F layer, the F1 and the F2 at times, is for long distance skip. And the D level absorbs the signal in the daytime, so you can't get any DX in the daytime. What is the level for short skip?
Comes to mind is the E layer, but I'm thinking now that's wrong. Anyhow, that was the first thing popped in my mind.
Oh, that is correct. That is correct. You've heard of static E. Well, that's what that is. I think the E layer is closest to the Earth of the rest of them. Okay, during Soviet rule, hams weren't allowed to contact what, well, I don't, I didn't write the answer to that one, so I'm not going to give that one out. I'll save that one for next time. Next question. United States and the UK, Spain and Portugal. Oh, I got the answer, yeah. During Soviet rule, hams weren't allowed to contract which countries? The choices are the US and the UK, Spain and Portugal, and South Africa and Israel. Which one of those, there were two that they weren't allowed to contact out of that list? Surprising, the U.S. and the U.K., Spain and Portugal were both anti-communist countries, as I recall. But South Africa and Israel, well, I'll go ahead and give you the answer because this is a tough one. It was South Africa and Israel, but I don't know why. Maybe that's something we could do some further research on. Okay, then the next and last question. Arizona is in what call district?
7.
Is right, number 7. Anybody have any other comments before we close the net?
Hello, now. I got my Thomas pipe in 1963 for the hammer. Thank you,
Tim, I can barely hear you. You need to come up with some other way to get a bigger signal into the repeater. I could barely hear you. Would you repeat what you had to say, please, slowly?
M0NL. I've been a ham since 1963. Back to you, M0NL.
Well, congratulations. We really need seasoned hams like you. I've only been a ham for about 30 years, so you've been a ham for over 40 years, right?
Oh, like 60 years. I was 13 when I got my license. Now, WN0CEY. Back in 1963.
Oh yeah, my mind doing math got messed up there. It's obviously over 60 years. That's really great. Congratulations, Jim. All righty, last chance for anybody to check into the TechNet. Come now.
Control,
Go ahead.
please check in Kilo November 4 Whiskey Echo Yankee KN4 WEY. Ted in Sarasota, just riding along, appreciating the question and answer. Over.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, we try to spice this up a little bit because frequently nobody calls in with any questions. The whole idea of it is to answer questions that people have, but I guess everybody has everything they need. Sometimes, though, we'll get 2 or 3 questions, but they're few and far between. So in order to keep this interesting, I decided to add in the tech questions. Every single question has something to do with tech or close to it. So last chance, anybody want to check in, get on the list. Okay, we want to ask everybody to be on the lookout to be an Elmer. You don't have to be a tech specialist to be an Elmer. What it is helping out your fellow ham, just like we do on this net. If you're wanting to become an ARRL tech specialist, you need to be a member of the ARRL and support the hobby with the serious side of ham radio. And to apply for a tech specialist position, visit the ARR website at www.arrl.wcf. WCF standing for West Central Florida. Then go to the section programs and then tech support and then the tech support specialist application. We try to make it as difficult to find as we can so we can be with the other websites in the world. Anyway, if you'd like to be a net control operator for the TechNet, you need a good quality connection to the NI4 repeater system. The West Central Florida section wishes to thank the West Central Florida group and the operators of the NI4CE system for the use of their repeaters. We also want to thank our men and women in uniform, including the military, the police, the fire personnel, the doctors, and the nurses, past and present, for their service. This is Paul, KT4AS, closing this section of the West Central Florida TechNet at, 9:41. And I want to say 73s to everybody. Thank you for joining me tonight, and may God bless.
That's not fair. You didn't answer the question about the first amateur radio club.
Oh, I didn't, did I? It was the Amateur Radio Club in Australia, similar to the ARRL, making sure the government treats us fairly.
On the internet, I couldn't find a thing. It kept coming up with University of Columbia in 1908. What was the date in Australia, you know?
Let me look. I don't know if I have it or not. I get these questions off the QRZ website, and sometimes they don't give all the information. Let's see. When did it start? Let's see. 30 radio engineer, QRM. Oh, by the way, the other one I didn't answer was the QST magazine started in 1915. That's incredible, isn't it? First amateur society was the Wireless Institute of Australia, and it didn't say the date, so that's what you want to look up, the WIA, okay?
Great, thank you. I got a good, my brain won't function. Trivia question for next week. Why were the 60s important in amateur radio history? And it's actually two answers to that. And I think that would be interesting.
Okay, well, you'll have to wait till next month. when I do the net the first Thursday of the month, because the other guys, they don't do trivia. I'm the only one doing that. But that's cool. I like to do it. Anyway, Scooter, thank you very much for checking into the net, as always. This is KT4AS. You have a nice evening, buddy.
Oh, you also. Yeah, we'll do it next month. What was I going to say? I don't know, it gets late at night, my brain quits working. Anyhow, thank you for the net. It's interesting. I enjoy it. Oh, I think I got my answer to the contender question. Basically, it's not really helpful. Okay. Thanks, Paul. You have a great evening, and we'll see you next month, if not before. This is Scooter, KQ4LUJ, coming to you with 50,000 watts for the beautiful downtown city of Lake Alfred. Good night, 73.
You too there, buddy. Yeah, I'm coming to you with my big 5-watt clear channel signal to the Verna repeater, covering everybody from Weeki Wachee Springs all the way down to Lake Okeechobee and inland to Sebring and all parts in between. 73, see you next time.
Say 50,000, I meant 5 watts. 73's full, have a good one. KQ4LUJ clear.
Well, I used to be on a 50,000 watt AM broadcast station, and boy, you wouldn't believe the size of the tube.
You would. When I was about 14, I lived about 1,000 yards from a 50,000 watt AM station, and in my residence, that was about the only station we could pick up, no matter where we put the dial. I built a crystal radio back then, and I clipped the antenna wire to the outdoor metal fence that went around our property. Boy, it just lit up. Anyhow, 73s. I'll catch you later. KQ4LUJ.
Yeah, Scooter, and I'll tell you what, there's a lot of RF coming out of a 50,000 watt signal. When they first built the tower for this station I worked at, it was in the middle of a cow pasture, but then the land got to be valuable. So they built a shopping center around it and had the single omnidirectional antenna in the middle of the parking lot. And people used to report they'd be trying on clothes and they would get a little static electricity on the clothes hangers. That goes to show you how much at least static electricity would come out of a signal like that. Anyway, take care. Have a good night. Talk to you again soon. KT4AS.
We keep coming up with topics. Yeah, I bet that RF on the clothes hangers would kind of make the shoplifters nervous, wouldn't it? Free?
You betcha. Yeah, it's amazing. 10,000 watts, though, will get you out pretty good. WFLA in Tampa comes in pretty good down here in Sarasota, and it's about 50 miles, and it comes in really good. And it's only 10,000 watts, but that's still quite a bit more than a lot of stations that have 1,000 watts or 5,000 watts or whatever. Okay, I'm happy with my little 5 watts here. See you later.
Yeah, you and me both. Mine goes up to 40 on high, but it's not necessary, so I use it. Alrighty, well, I'll make a final call. KQ4LUJ, we're clear.
KQ4LUJ from W6BAA.
Cut. WS something AS.
Good evening, Scooter. This has been Whiskey 6 Bravo Alpha Alpha W6BAA. if you do have the compander, even if people aren't necessarily using it for repeater sake, what I found, especially when I lived out west, is I had some repeaters that could hear me, but I could just barely hear them. And in those cases, that was the difference in having all noise or being able to have something intelligible. So if you've got something that's, a repeater that's just on the bare existence of being anything, sometimes that can be the difference in having something copyable.
That's good information. I'm not too far from the Bartow repeater, so that's about all I get on my radios. But I did set it up. I got a two-band monitor on this one radio, and I set it up. I set one up with a compander, and then the same frequency without the compander. So I thought I'd listen to them both and see if I can tell any difference. Anyhow, thank you for the info. I appreciate it. 73s, have a good evening. KQ4 LEUJ, this is Scooter. We're cleared standing by on your final.
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. And I don't normally make it in for this net, so glad to join you guys for the evening. And yeah, it's funny, I hadn't thought about the compander because I moved out here in 2017, so I don't think I've used it since then because, like you said, everything's so within region here. So, but yeah, if you ever find yourself trying to pull out something, it can be handy. But I'll say 73s as well. It's time for me to probably go find a snack and find something to get into. I think the game's still on, as a matter of fact. So I hope you have a good evening, and catch you again somewhere out here. W6BAA cleared.
My friend, I do appreciate the info, and we'll give it a try here and see what happens. And have a blessed evening. Enjoy the game. And, of course, it's only the last quarter that counts. So you better get to it. 73's KQ4 LEUJ.